evening, everyone. Welcome to Talking with 3D. I am your host, Derrick Durrell Dixon, and I am so excited to have you here today. With my special guests, we have the cast, some of the cast from the stage play that we just did. It was written, produced, and directed by myself, and the play was called Wounded. And I have two of the actresses that put on a powerful performance, Miss Tanya Harris and Kristen Young. And a little insight about Wounded. Wounded is about dealing with your wounds. And also it dealt with sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, anything that you can deal with about abuse, we talked about. Because I think it's very important, and it's a very important subject that we do talk about sexual abuse or any type of abuse. Being a victim of sexual abuse myself, I think it's important that we as men, that we're able to have a voice, we're able to have a safe place where we're able to talk about it, because of the fact that a lot of men do not talk about it. I've always did not understand, why do people wait so many years afterwards to not talk about sexual abuse? And there was so many things that I had to do my own type of research to find out that a lot of times people don't talk about sexual abuse because fear of retaliation, shame. They are afraid to report it because they don't know if someone's going to do anything about it. There's not enough to report. They don't want the offender to be in trouble with the law. They don't want family or friends to know. Fear of the justice system. Fear that they feel that the crime wasn't serious enough. And then sometimes they just feel that too much time has passed along. And just looking at statistics, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men will be raped at some point in their lives. And the word will be. It's not that might be or anything, will be raped. They broke it even down, 40%, 46% lesbian women, 74% bisexual women, 43% heterosexual women, 40% gay men, 47% bisexual men, 20% heterosexual men, 1 to 4 girls, and then 1 to 6 boys will be, again, listen to that word, will be sexually abused before 18 years old. The annual rape cost in the US is more than $127 billion. That is the highest annual cost is for rape. Assault is at 93 billion, murder 71 billion, and drunk driving is 61 billion. And when we're talking about costs, we're talking about as far as court costs and medical costs. PTSD is one of the things that costs the most when people are sexually or any type of abuse, is the most that people have to pay. So I am just asking that you have family that has gone through this, please make sure that you get help, because of the fact that that's one of the things that holds us all from being able to have these discussions. This is going to be a sensitive discussion. So if you do have children in the room, you have to decide as a parent if this is something that you want them to hear, or again, they may need to, because you don't want them to be afraid of being able to discuss it. So I just want to let you know that this is something that we all should be able to talk about, but we fear it. So I just want to use this show today to educate ourselves, educate you, but be able to have open dialogue to be able to talk about sexual abuse. There is a Hope Center. It's called Hope Works, and I got a phone number. It says 1-800-656-4673. 1-800-656-HOPE. That number that you can call 24/7 24/7 that if you are a sexually abused victim, please reach out to them and they will direct you to whoever you'll need to assist you in whatever area that it is. Again, it doesn't have to always be sexual abuse, any type of abuse. And again, that number is 1-800-656-4673. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back right here on Talking with 3D, where real talk is with real people. And we'll be talking with Kristen Young and Tanya Harris, two of the actors of the stage play Wounded. We'll be right back.
Operator 901, where's the emergency?
127 Brynmere.
Okay, what's going on there?
I'd like to order a pizza for delivery.
Ma'am, you've reached 911. This is an emergency line.
Large with half pepperoni, half mushrooms.
You know you've called 911. This is an emergency
Do you
line.
know how long it'll be?
Okay, ma'am, is everything okay over there? Do you have an emergency or not?
Yes.
And you're unable to talk because...
Right.
Okay, is there someone in the room with you? Just say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like I have an officer about a mile from your location. Are there any weapons in your house?
No.
Can you stay on the phone with me?
No. See you soon. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for tuning in. You are watching Talking with 3D, where real talk is for real people. I am so excited that I have two of my actresses from the stage play Wounded, which happened this weekend. We are still exhausted, but just so excited. We touched so many people during this, for this play, the stage play. And we're just gonna dive into it. We're gonna talk about it. The stage play is called Wounded. It was based on a family, Margaret and her three daughters, and we dealt with sexual abuse, and we dealt with, different type of issues, but real life issues in the play. And one person told me that we should have called it Assumptions because there was a lot of assumptions in the play, but they understood the word wounded. And the reason that I did name the play Wounded, because a lot of times there's so many wounds that we deal with as people. And I don't want to just say as Black people, as people, we deal with so many wounds. I saw someone say the other day that they wouldn't date a man that was broken. And I said, well, first off, how would you know that, what would you consider a man that was broken? And they gave me that, when they have, mama issues and dating issues and everything like that. And I says, well, we're all broken, in some way, somehow, we're all broken. So it was funny how we can, again, I thought of the word assumption. It's funny how we can think one person's not broken, but we're not broken. Right. We're not broke. We don't have no issues. I don't have no issues. I ain't got no mama, daddy issues. I don't got no boyfriend, girlfriend issues. That's that other person. Ma'am, sir, you're broken. So you just haven't dealt with your wounds. But I'm just excited to have you guys. I really chose you two to be here tonight to represent the stage play Wounded because of, your performances that you had to dive into and really go deep into some dark places. Kristen Young played Margaret, and she played Margaret in another stage play. So she kind of was a spinoff from the stage play, same script, different cast. Well, Margaret was more uplifted and bright and very comedic. And this time, Margaret was more dark. And she still had her funny roles, but Kristen had to find that dark side. And it was really, there was a part where she had to do, and she came off stage, and we're going to talk about that. And she was very emotional. I saw her shaking on the stage. I literally saw her shaking. I was like, I felt like I wanted to turn the lights off and say, hold off. I got to go protect my girl right now. But then I had to let her go for it because I was like, she's in the moment. But then I wanted to grab her and like, Kristen, it's okay. But I was like, you went deep, Kristen. You went deep. So, and then Tanya Harris, she played the role of Kiki. Kiki was a character where I wrote that she went through some issues in life, and she had a family, and she had children, she had a husband, she had a beautiful car, car and home and everything. But life situations got her into drugs and not being able to cope with life. And then she met someone that she went to get help. She went to the church and she found out that the person in the church was going through the same thing that she was going through. So how could she even help her? So ladies, welcome to Talking with 3D. I'm so excited to have you guys and to talk about this tonight and what it meant for you to be in the stage play Wounded. So ladies, how are you doing? Kristen, how are you doing this evening?
I am fantastic. I am fantastic. So just quickly to answer your question, for me, it was a complete honor because when I did same script, different cast the first time, I knew nothing about you. I knew nothing about 3D. I just answered a casting call, and I feel like it was just kind of an immediate click. So we did same script, different cast a couple times, and then to be invited back is always an honor. Regardless of what it is, when someone says, "Okay, now I'm doing something different, but I still want you here," that is very humbling. So to me, I was excited to be able to do this opportunity, and then as you said, when I realized this is not the same, it's the same name. But this is not the same. I thought I was just coming in to learn some new lines. I didn't know this was really almost a completely different character. And this is, honestly, this is probably the hardest role I've had to play ever. Wow. And I'll go further into that, but I'll go ahead and let Tanya jump in.
Yes. Well, Miss Tanya Harris, again, thank you so much. She played Kiki. This was my first time as well working with Tanya. And Tanya, how are you doing? Tell us how you got to work with the play Wounded.
Well, currently I am well rested and I'm still resting. So it was a lot of work, but it was fun work and it was deep work and it was self-awareness work that I actually had to, look at some things as well as myself. The cast was phenomenal. This was an honor because I have never worked with heavy hitters as I did. And I've never had an honor to actually work with people that actually have done movies. However, I've done some acting in my previous church and we had multiple shows and everything, but nothing this deep. Now I've played a thief before. I've even played Jesus in one of the plays, but never ever this deep. So it was an honor, as well as Christian said, to be asked. And I got introduced to you, Derrick, by Tanya. So she had put it out. And so I was like, let me just see, because I've always wanted to do that. So I've always wanted to act, sing, and dance. And, so you know what better year than this year? And not only that, but to have doing this during COVID. So God works in mysterious ways and his time is not our time. So I am just grateful. I am very, very grateful.
And let me tell you something about Tanya. She, again, very, very humble about everything. She just said something, that's something that I wanted to do. If you haven't seen the stage play Wounded, and we are, praying that we can do this again, but I plan on working with her again as well. But when you see Tanya on stage, you would think that Tanya has been acting for years. This sister puts on a performance like no other. And
Gifted.
every time she is so gifted, so so talented. And I just love her spirit. I love everything about her. That every time she, got on stage, she always pulled some type of different emotion from you. And her role was comedic, but her role was so needed because we treat people in such a way that when we see the crackhead on the corner and we see someone that doesn't dress like you or doesn't have the Louis and or the colognes and stuff that you have, we treat them different.
Mhm.
So we have to sometimes check ourselves and see ourselves because of the fact that, you know what, sometimes you treat people a certain way because of the fact that you're afraid that you may see a little bit of yourself in who they are. So I sometimes struggled with the part, but I thought, you know what, it's needed. It is so needed. So every character that we had in the play was so needed. And every feedback that I got, everyone said they related somehow to one of those characters, or they knew one of those characters. So it was bravo, to you ladies, because I'm telling you, you guys, I'm telling y'all, I can't wait to see the recording of it, that we can put it on a DVD and put it out there, because of the fact that everyone needs to see this play. So listen, get you something, a snack, but don't go anywhere. You guys come right on back to Talking with 3D, where real talk is for real people. And then we're going to really dive into their characters in the stage play, Wounded. We'll be right back.
Daddy!
Hey mate, how are ya? Good to see ya. Hope you've been a good boy for Mummy.
Yes, Dad.
How was your Rotary Club meeting today?
Fine. It's cold. It's got no taste.
I work all day to come home to this! Oh, shut up! The dog eats better than this!
The dog eats better than this! Get up! Get up! Get up!
How many times have I told you to clean up this mess? You're useless!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, it took us some struggles. It took us some prayers. It took us some tears. But what it is that when the enemy knows that you have something powerful, and that he knows that you're going to change some lives, he's going to give you everything that you can. But we stuck in there. We stuck together, and we did it together. So listen, Tanya, let's start with you. What did you get out of the stage play Wounded? Not just out of your character, Kiki, but just out of the stage play Wounded. What did you get out of it?
I actually got out of it transparency. It was a movement. That the fact that everyone in the play was relatable, transparent, and a movement. And I say the word movement because everyone was going through the wound, right? Everyone was going through it. It wasn't that that you wrote the script and they stopped. So like everyone had a past, a future, as well as I'm messing it up. I know I am, but a story, pretty much a story, right? So for them to go through it, because when you touched on Kiki literally told First Lady Diane that I was just like you. So that meant that she had a past, and that was a well-lit past. It wasn't that she started out raped or beaten, battered. Like she had a past, a very good life, and that she had the point where she knew that she wanted the help. So for her to be able to go to the church, like we all do, you know, that longing, that craving, that there's got to be something wrong, or where can I get the help? We all see Christ. So for her to even go there and recognize that she needed the help, and then see First Lady in this light of that she could do the help,
right,
that she could get the help. So for that to take place, and her recognize that, as well as Bobby. Bobby had a past.
yes.
Bobby then recognized what he was doing, and then wanted more out of his life, and got more.
Right.
And Diane.
And
Diane,
even Bobby, even though he got more, but still he had to deal with the death of someone in order to get to that place. So it wasn't like, you know, it was handed to him, but it wasn't handed to him on a silver spoon, on a silver platter, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So again, I wanted to put that in there, that, you know, sometimes, yes, we come into things, but there's a price to pay to get it.
That's good. That's good. And then we sometimes lose ourselves and loved ones. So for me, the play was a movement, because it's alive. It's real. It's not just something that you go, oh wow, that was a really happy ending. But it was you can literally take the play and make it up on your own. Like, I can see Kiki getting help. I can see Diane, you know, so it kind of left it up to your imagination to how each character got. So once Bobby got the money, but he lost his mom, you know, you're like, I wonder what happened with Bobby, right? So he can actually have a wounded 2.0 if you wanted to, right? But all in all, it was just a transparency, and that for everyone to actually see themselves or someone that they knew. And I'll make this really quick. It was one of my ministry sisters that came out. And when I seen her, I just cried, but she actually came out because she had a friend that was addicted as well. And that's why she really wanted to come out, because of the word wounded and everything. So just for someone to say, hey, let's check this out, to where it's on stage and it's relatable and you can kind of see yourself. So, you know, and I could relate to Kiki, and many times when I felt unseen when I came to church, and, you know, and I didn't think anyone actually saw me when I was broken, or when I wanted that hug, or that, hey girl, how you doing? So for me, the play was alive, real, and active. It was totally a movement.
Wow. Wow. Kristen, again, you played the role of Margaret. And again, Margaret wasn't that lighthearted Margaret that you was used to. You had to go to some dark places. And I know that a lot of times in rehearsal, you would be like, that scene, you know, that sister scene, I know that a lot of times you were like, this scene is so hard for me to do. And that night, Kristen, you lost yourself, and it was so powerful. The audience, when you did your scene, I could hear their reactions, and they wanted to love you, but they were mad at you. But they cried. They cried with you. You know, they cried with you, because again, a lot of women related to your characters, like, I had to protect my kids. I would do anything I would have to do to protect my kids. So how did you mentally get to the place to play that role, that dark side of Margaret?
It was tough. And I think the biggest thing for me was because this wasn't a brand new character. I came in with the mentality, this is a continuation, where this is more or less the backstory, but this is the same person. So that's what I mentioned earlier. So I know in most of the rehearsals, you were like, I want this big, energetic Margaret. And I'm just like, okay, but we're now showing someone who is truly mentally ill. So I'm like, okay, so how do we show this in a comedic, lighthearted way without being offensive to anybody who's dealing with mental illness in the audience, or has family members, what have you. So that, and because I have a mental health background, that was I was dealing with that. I said, yes, I understand you want this comedic role, but I don't want to be disrespectful. So I
Right.
was constantly battling that piece. On top of that particular scene that you're referencing, that was a difficult scene because I'm like, this is real life, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
not even comfortable with these words coming out of my mouth like this. I'm just like, I'm just like, I know it's not me, but it's me. And I'm like, I have to make this real. Like getting into this place of this is legitimately how I felt about my child. And
Yes.
I don't want to give it away, but I think in the moment, because I mean, literally up until the night before, I was still struggling. I was just like, who is this Margaret? Who is this Margaret? But that
Right.
particular scene made me so uncomfortable from day one. And I think it was a combination of Kristen still being uncomfortable with it, but then also
Mm-hmm.
knowing I have my own children out here in this audience. It's my children
Yes.
very rarely get to see me perform because it's normally too mature for them to see.
Right.
My children are 9 and 10. So this was, we decided to, even though I was still on the fence, but I said, they wanted to come. So I had my children there. I had my parents there. I have my own, even though it's not directly connected to sexual abuse or what have you, I have my own family wounds that I'm honestly working through right now.
Right.
So I
Right.
feel like it was a combination of my parents are watching, my husband is watching, my own children are watching, and I'm playing this mother who is in this space of I honestly did what I felt like I had to do. And knowing that as a
Mm.
parent, we're never going to 100% get it right. There are some things that we are going to do that are just completely off. But at the end of the day, knowing that it was done in love, that's all we have to go off of.
Right.
In hindsight, we can always say I coulda, shoulda, woulda. We can
Right.
always look, and some things we don't even understand. And I know even for me dealing with my own wounds, one of the things that I had to acknowledge is that even though there are a lot of things that I wish my parents didn't do,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't always speak up. My
Right.
one of my challenges is that I keep everything to myself. I internalize things. I assume you should have known this. You were the parent, I was the child. Why didn't you get this? Why didn't you think
Yes.
of it in this way? So I had to deal with a lot of that as far as, even though, yeah, as a child I may not have been able to speak up, but even as I got older, I just continued to bury it and
Mm-hmm.
not deal with any of that. So I think it was just a combination of all of that came up as soon as that scene opens act 2. So I'm
Yes.
here I am at intermission. I'm like, okay, the scene is coming, and I have all this time. It's different if it was like in the middle of one of the acts where I'm just like adrenaline, moving to the next one. I'm like, no, I've had all this downtime to get ready for this scene, and this is how we have to open it. And I'm just like, so I think it was just I know it was a combination of all of those thoughts and all of those feelings that just came up, and literally having to look my daughter in the face and
Mm.
tell her, I did what I see that you're hurting, but
Right.
you have to understand that I did what I knew how to do to keep you alive at the end of the
Right.
day. I
Right.
understand this. There was no right way out of this.
Right. That's it right there. Yeah.
And I really felt that struggle in that moment of there was no right answer to this situation. There was
Right.
no right answer. And you
So,
have to understand that.
and you
Ooh,
had to
I'm feeling it now. Like I'm feeling it now because it's so. And as a parent, I want to get it right, and I know I'm
Yes.
not always going to. But
Right.
I have 2 young daughters for myself, and growing up, I was one of 3, and in this play, I have 3 daughters. So so there were so many pieces that were relatable to me. But
Mm-hmm.
just knowing I have these little girls, and I pray that they are never up against some of the stuff that we had to talk about in this play. But
Yes.
I don't know what they're up against.
Right.
So I just have to pray every day that God give me the grace to do the best, legitimately do the best that I can, and keep the lines of communication open with them at all times.
Did you have to have any type of discussion after the play with them? Did they ask questions, regarding the parts that you had to play or anything in the play? Did they have any of those type of questions?
They had a couple of questions, but they are still, fortunately, they are still young enough that a lot of stuff went over their heads. So
Okay.
they were there for the surface stuff. So they loved Grace. They talked about how funny Grace was and how she was their favorite character. I was like, what? What do you mean? I'm your mother. What do you mean? But so they talked about, it was but all the deep stuff within the play, they fortunately they're not ready for that, and they didn't catch it.
Right.
So we didn't have to have too many deeper conversations.
Right. Wow. Tanya, what are some of the discussions that you had? I know that afterwards I saw you did a live on Facebook and everything. What are some of the discussions that you had to have, or what that people may have asked you? Because a lot of people, again, it was real life situations that we did talk about. So what were people getting from the play and giving to you?
Wow. Thank you, Christian, for sharing, by the way, because my grandkids didn't come, so I can imagine, but that they would have loved Grace as well too, because she was our favorite too.
Yes.
So for me, I think a lot of people came up to me and was like, "Girl, you had me crying," and I was like, "Really?" And I was like, "They was like, yeah, it was deep." And so one of my girlfriends was like, that it literally, like, she could see herself, that we all, we bounced off each other, how there are times when we go into the sanctuary and we think that the sanctuary is this, like everyone there is already healed. And so when you come in and you want, and even though I might not have wounded on my chest, I'm looking for that eye contact, right? I'm looking for that posture, or that energy that I can pick up on to be like, who can I talk to? But there are times when, back in the day when we, went to the club, we came to church after the club, we didn't always have the right clothes on,
Right.
and so we came in after the club and, I had to sing. But there are times when we want someone to acknowledge us, and they look at us and they see something else.
Well, they were very, I will say that, and again, this is just, we're having discussion.
Yes.
And we should be able to have discussion. And a lot of times you go into the church and it's very judgmental.
Yes.
So instead of you coming in from the club and you still have on the little, little skirt on or something like that, that's what they see is, oh, that's a club girl. Why is she up in the choir? Why is she, with so-and-so? Why is she doing this? Instead of, again, realizing you are dealing with some wounds.
That's right.
But we don't take the time, and I say we as the church don't take the time to, to see people for where they're at, because we think everyone should come in speaking in tongues, shouting and know every hymn and every song and everything. No, I'm there for a reason.
Right.
And I'm still there for a reason.
Right. And let alone church etiquette. Like, she should know better. Like, I don't know better. And then they want to, give you a holy hug and tell you, sis, that's a little too short, or they want to lay a napkin or something over your lap or something like that. So, me and my girlfriend, we talked about that. And just the mere fact that that you can bring somebody to a place where they cry because they can see themselves. And it wasn't so much, it was me bringing your words to life. So definitely a part for me was, where is God in all of this, right? So a lot of times it's like, when you look around and you go, well, why, God, why are you blessing her? And she doing that, but what about me? Like, where is God in all of this? And then, that creates that shaky faith now, or that wavery faith, or no faith at all. So, just to have that honest conversation with a couple of girlfriends, and just that bounce off to them, just to say, hey, hey, sis, I've been there. And so for me, knowing that I've been there, I no longer look at any female like that, because, especially when we hear, someone with a baby in the church crying, and the response you hear is, she need to keep them babies quiet. Well, you've been a single mom.
Right.
So how do you figure that it's okay for you to have yours crying now that yours is old enough to be in the nursery or in Sunday school? You must forget how it was. So you just extend that grace, to someone else.
Yeah, you're right. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am talking with two of my favorite actresses, Tanya Harris and Kristen Young, that starred in the stage play Wounded. And we are again, it was so touching. Every actor in the play Wounded, was powerful. Tammy Rogers, Elwood, Mr. Class Ingram, we had Jay Seymour, we had Walter Parker, awesome. Amin was in it. We had, don't let me forget any names. We had Tanya Brown was in it. She played Grace. I'm telling you, just an all-star cast. I just enjoyed it.
Don't forget the past.
Right.
Myself. But listen, we're going to take another quick break, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be right back. And we're going to just keep talking about the stage play Wounded and what it meant to us to perform it and for me to write it. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is Talking with 3D.
His first day of kindergarten, catching a pop fly for his baseball team, using his imagination to play or even create a masterpiece, feeling the sunlight warm his face. He will miss all of these things because his father beat him to death when he wouldn't stop crying. More than 60 defenseless children throughout Kentucky and Indiana die at the hands of their abusers every single year. With a fact like this staring us in the face, shouldn't we ask, what are we missing? If you suspect a child you know is being abused, call the organization nearest you and report it immediately. Don't miss your chance to make a difference. This message is brought to you by the Partnership to Eliminate Child Abuse.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Talking with 3D. I am your host, Derrick Durrell Dixon. I am here with Tanya Harris and Kristen Young. We are talking about the stage play Wounded, written, directed, and produced by Derrick Durrell Dixon. That's me. So listen, I'll tell you, when we were in rehearsal one night and Jay Seymour had to do her part about being molested, sexually abused by her father. And when she did that, I had to leave the room. It touched me and it brought up so much memories. And it's so funny because, again, I always said, why do people report stuff 20 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later? It would upset me, when we would watch Bill Cosby going through what he went through. And I'm like, this was 20 years ago. Why are they now bringing this up? And here it is now me. And I'm thinking, this happened to me when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. And here I am now 55. And the effect that it had on me was all of a sudden, felt like everything was brought back up right into my chest. I could see it, I could feel it, I could smell it. And it just shook me so hard. And I got it because of the fact that I never dealt with because like I said before, is that, a lot of people feel like it can't tell because it's going to mess up the family. No one's going to believe you. You don't want that person to get in trouble. So you carry that for years. You carry it. And then there's times that you don't even think about it, but it's still loaded right here. And so we do other little things to get past that wound. And that's when I started writing this, because I would see a lot of things going on in the world that people were hurting about this and people heard about that. And how do we get past? How do we as people get past our wounds? Because we're all wounded some way, somehow, if it's by a friend, a family, your job, something. How do we get past it? So it was tough to write it. It was tough to do it, but it's something that we have to learn to have these conversations, because it's much needed.
Yes.
It's much needed. And of course, in the Black community, it's much needed, because a lot of times we don't believe in the therapy, and we don't believe in talking about our business and stuff, but it's much needed. There was a lot of drama in the play, but we had fun, and we had so much comedic parts in this play. That Elwood played that part, Bobby, and when he decided, we had a backdrop that was a staircase, and it was a beautiful backdrop, and when he thought he was going to run up them steps, I was like, I'm done. And like you said, Kristen, we're trying to have this serious moment, and this fool gonna run up these imaginary steps, make the sound like he's running up the steps.
When I knew it was coming, I automatically positioned my head to come down, so nobody would see me laughing, because I'm like, I don't want to break this moment. So I would just strategically put my head down. So if I started laughing, it would not show, because I said, this is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Between that and when Grace there's a part where Grace talks about the kind of man that she wants and doesn't want.
Yes.
And in that particular part, she has rehearsed that for months, and it cracked me up every single time. So I had to position myself where I'm over at the table, so my head is just off to the side. So if I start laughing, I'm not going to break the moment, because I said, this is crazy. These people are true Looney Tunes. Oh gosh. But
we had a cast. I'm just going to say, the cast that we had, I'm telling you, the experience that we all had, and to bring it together. And the one thing that I loved, because this cast has worked in film, they've been in stage, all over, have their own Actors Academy, everything. And nobody came in there as the diva.
Yes,
we were all the stars. And I love that we shared that stage with each other.
Yeah.
But the funniest part is when I had a little part to do and talk about that. I don't want to give away what my situation was, but when I talked about my wife, Diane, and afterwards the cast was like, what in the world were you talking about when I talked about me meeting my wife at the Soul Circus, and I made up this whole
story.
What were you thinking at that moment?
I'm experienced in Derrick Durrell Dixon, so I know that there is not one time you're going to go on stage and have it match any other time. I don't care what you've been through, what rehearsals you've been in. I don't care what you blocked out and whatever. The bottom line is Derrick is going to come up with something brand new every single time. So I didn't have a thought. I just said, Lord, we're just going to see where this ride takes us, because Universe Soul Circus wasn't even around when they started dating, but whatever, we just gonna roll with this. It was one of those moments. I just had to strategically put my head, because I said, I don't know what's coming, so let me put my head down and hold my breath, because I don't know, and I am the one that will just bust out laughing. So I'm like, I gotta keep together, because I don't know where this is going.
I'm telling you, we had a good time. We had a good time.
We had a great time.
I'm telling you, I just look forward to working with each and every one of everybody in some capacity. You know, people want us to come back and do the stage play Wounded. Sometimes I toss it back and forth because I'm like, it's such a needed play, but it's so hard. You know, it really is draining. It's emotionally so hard to do. But when it's something like that, it has to be done for a reason, you know, because of that, it's ministry. It's ministry. And I love David Lloyd Marcus said it was so well done. It was like a genius put this together. And I was like, wow. You know,
I mean, because you, Derrick, you truly have a gift of combining real life situations, but adding that comedic spin so that everybody's not walking out heavy. And it's done. It really is a science to how you do this, and I don't know what that formula is at all. But it's really just being able to hit the hard stuff, but then you come right back with a comedic, you know, moment. So it's not, you're not staying in that. It's like, okay, it came up. Okay, but now we're laughing again, and I'm gonna have to revisit that. I'm gonna have to revisit that. I don't know what that thought was, but let me stay here. Let me see where we're going.
Right.
Something else came up, you know. So you really are gifted in that area.
Thank you. You know, I think when you do right like that, I think you think about your life.
Yeah.
And you think, oh my God, this is such a heavy moment. Where do I find the laughter? Right. Where do I find, you know, my relief? So I think of that, you know, when I give things to people, this is heavy, but where do we find the laughter in it?
Right.
You know, and not that situations are, you know, deep situations are funny, but within ourselves, we have to find that within ourselves and show people that, you know, even through your trials and tribulations, there's something that we can find to say, you know what, I'm going to be okay.
That's right.
I'm going to be okay. That formula, Kristen, is just a little bit of cuckoo. That's what that is.
That's accurate. That's accurate. But to touch on what you said earlier, as far as how do you deal with those wounds and how do you process that? It's more or less, and one of the things I always want people to remember is that we have to always stay accountable to ourselves, and we have to stay in tune with ourselves. So yes, we've all been through drama, trauma, what have you, and on some level throughout life. But what we have to do is if we stay in tune with ourselves and pay attention to what our triggers are and acknowledge them, that is going to be one of the biggest steps, because it is a journey to healing.
Yes,
but when we can notice, I constantly snap when somebody says something like this. I constantly snap at my children in that, why am I doing this? What is it that, you know, what comes up for me when I'm feeling this? And we have to take a moment. And as you said, I know we as a people do not do well with therapy, but we have to learn to do well with therapy. We have to learn to get into that space. You don't have to publicize it, but you have to get into that space where you can talk to somebody other than God who can actually support you in your transformation through healing. Because that's what it is. When you can acknowledge it, then you can, that's how those things that come up from 20 years ago, I never dealt with that. I was told, you know, what was I told when I was young, especially for young men? Shut up, boys don't cry, be a man, all that kind of stuff. So we're, a lot of us, even for young girls, you know, for me, I know one of my challenges was I didn't like being the whole little prissy. I wanted to be active, and, you know, that's me. That's my, I have a bigger personality, but I was taught to suppress that because that wasn't ladylike, and that's not, and, you know, so learning how to deal with that once you are 18, 20, 25. And it's like, okay, well, I was taught all these things when I was little, but who am I now? Who did God really call me to be? And who's going to support me in truly blossoming in the way that I was created?
That's right.
I want to ask you, Tanya, because, you know, we had a little round table during one of the rehearsals, and I opened up about my, you know, me being sexually abused. And then you had mentioned that you had even, you know, had some similar situation yourself. And again, not going into details and things like that, but what would you tell a young girl, a woman right now, about being able to first say, yes, I've been sexually abused, and then get the help that they need? What would you tell that young girl?
I would possibly tell, I'll use me. I would tell the younger me to find that person. And it's crazy. It's not even crazy. It's just God. He will bring people in our lives that we feel like there's an open door that you can be transparent in. And when you find that, and when God brings that person in your life and you say, I feel like I can tell you anything, that's like that unctioning to share.
Right.
Once you share one thing, right? It doesn't have to be that meaty thing. It could be that one thing that's that tender to touch type of thing, right? Not that deep wound, but that one that you can be like, see, it's a bruise right here, right?
Right.
And so when you can tell someone that and they accept you and they tend to listen, then you go through the journey of learning them as well as yourself. You say, well, can I share this? Then when you get that person, because God will bring that person, trust me, he will bring that person. It's up to us, up to me as a little girl to be able to say, hey, this happened to me. Can I share something with you, right? So a lot of times all God wants is that one yes.
That's right.
One yes, right? So when you take that one yes, and when you share that, there is a weight that is lifted off of you when you share that. So when you find that person and that platform where you can literally say, hey, this happened to me. Can I talk to you about it? And if they say, you know what? Yes, sweetie, you can talk to me. Or, hey, you know what? I know someone else that can help you. There's a door that's open to where you can step in. And then at that point, you don't even have to share everything.
That's right.
Just share something that makes that release, that wound to start to heal. Because the healing takes process. That wound is not going to heal immediately, overnight, the moment that you share that. So the moment that you say, hey, can I share something with you? That's when God starts to elevate. That's when God starts to have those moments where he brings in those peoples and those coverings, as well as that spiritual mother or father or uncle at that point. And then once you start doing the work, then you'll realize that your wounds are starting to heal. And then you're able to share with other women and other brothers and like-minded people. I will share this. I have been also had domestic violence, and we know that domestic violence month is this month. Is it this month or last month?
October.
So I had to deal with that for 8 years, right? And so broken nose, ribs, black eyes, being raped, and just everything. So it's like when you get to that point, and I'm speaking for what I'm telling you is that I had that one person that I could share a little bit, right? And then you kind of back off a little bit and see how you perceive. It's when we open up that there's a healing, but there's also sometimes backlash. But you gotta be willing to share just a little bit before you can actually share a lot, because those places that we deal with are tender, are wounds. And so the more that you say, God, I need the healing, I want the healing, bring that person. And even if you don't know how to pray that prayer, God will bring you that person that will cover you and will accept you right where you are.
That's right. And like you say, if you don't know that prayer to pray, you just cry out to God. God, I give it to you. I put it in your hands. Let God work that for you. And things will turn around. Listen, once again, I want to give out this number. It's called Hope Works. It's 1-800-656-4673. 1-800-656-HOPE. They're open 24/7. Anytime that you feel like you're not able to talk to somebody in the church, a friend or a family member and everything, call somebody. Call somebody that is able just to direct you and put you to the right person. So
Yeah.
again, ladies, thank you so much. I know we are running out of time. Kristen, I know you've got some great projects coming up. Please tell everybody where they can contact you.
Oh, best way is I'm a Facebook person. I'm on Instagram as well, but Kristen, Kristin, Michelle with 2 L's, Young. That's my name on Instagram as well as on Facebook. So definitely feel free to follow me, and I'll definitely keep you posted on what's coming down the pike.
And Tanya, how can everyone contact you?
Well, again, this is so new to me, and I'll be able to drop some nuggets just like Christian did, because I'll be up there. I'll be up there soon. But for now, just contact me on Facebook. I got some other side business that I do that is still under construction, and you will not be disappointed once you get in my sphere. So just contact me on Facebook.
I'm telling you right now with Tanya, directors and everything, look for this girl, Tanya Harris. I'm telling you right now, look for her. Please, Kristen Young, look for her. Powerful, powerful women on the stage, in film, look for them. I'm telling you right now. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in once again to Talking with 3D. I love this show. I love it. I want to thank Mike Lee, my producer. Every time I get on the show, he pushes me to new levels. So I thank him. Plus TV. I want to thank them. Plus Work TV Network. I want to thank them as well. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, Talking with 3D. I forgot my name all of a sudden. Where real talk is for real people. We'll see you next week right here. Again, thank you guys. Love you, ladies.
Thank you, Derrick.